Hello, welcome to the Land of Kakiak. My name is Laurel. Today is a mid-year update for my first grader. We are a year-round homeschooling family, so I think we started in August. We're now in March, so I guess that's like 7 months, but I figure we've taken multiple weeks off in January and December and like a week off in November for Thanksgiving, so we've done about half a year's worth of work. And I thought I would just give you a quick update how the year is going for my first grader, how we are juggling subjects, if there's been any changes, and the curriculum we're using. So I will take you through our subjects, the curriculum, and any quick thoughts I have on it in the order that we have our schedule every day. We do have the same schedule every single day, except for Thursdays. We have co-op, so we don't do anything at home on that day unless sometimes there's like some special project we're working on or something. Like right now my fourth grader is working on a George Washington presentation at co-op, so like that might be a day that we might come home from co-op and work on that, but typically we don't. All right, so first subject is Bible. We are still using the biggest story, and we are in the Gospels book. Yep, we are still liking it. I will link to all the curriculum I show you today, and I like it. It's really cost effective. You get, a set of books. I want to say I paid like $80, but it goes through all the major stories of the Bible that are appropriate, for kids, teaching at an appropriate level. I would say this is good for really good for elementary years, but even like a middle school student, like my middle schooler, he listens along with us in the morning. It's not going to hurt him to hear the stories again. And anyways, it's going through the Bible in like a chronological order. And I'll show you the work I have them do like with it. But there's a corresponding website, which is, I think you don't even have to buy the curriculum to have access to. I think you can just go make an account at thebiggeststory.com. There's videos for each lesson. There are printables, like coloring sheets and like some activity sheets. And something I like about the videos is at the end of the videos, there's like a little prayer. So I like having a little prayer that's like matches up with our lesson. Unfortunately, they didn't have that in the book. I actually went through and I just wrote all the prayers in. I just watched, I just went to the videos and wrote it in so I could have it in my book, because I don't always have us watch the video, but you could just open this up and read to them straight out of the lesson. Then it kind of retells the story, like a summary of the story, whatever story from the Bible you're working on. And sometimes I pair that up with an audio, like I'll go to YouTube and I'll play the audio Bible, chapters. Sometimes I just want them to hear the actual scripture and not just a summary. But yeah, we kind of play it by ear, and I used to like it. There's one more book after this. It's the Revelation book. I think after this, I'm going to actually take a break before we start the next book, and I'm going to read to them Pilgrim's Progress. I have a kid's Pilgrim's Progress, which I think I've shared before, and I meant to read it, do morning time reading, and I just haven't found that I have a lot of time to add anything in lately, or, I don't want to be rushing the kids during the day because I'm trying to fit in more stuff. So I think I'm just, instead of adding that, doing this and reading that, I think that's just going to be a little too demanding. I'm just going to, for our next, as soon as we're done with this, we're about this far, we're going to read that kids version of Pilgrim's Progress and just pray in the morning for our Bible time. At his age, what I'm really trying to do is just establish the importance of studying the Bible, the habit, prayer, just talking about God, and conveying my enthusiasm for Jesus to him. And so I feel like we're meeting those goals. I don't expect him to be like a little Bible scholar yet. He's only in first grade. I actually think I might go through this with him again later on, maybe fourth grade. I might circle back and go through these again that year with him. It's been a really good, my fourth grader has been getting a lot out of it. I feel like those are the years where third, fourth, fifth grade, where their memories are a lot better. And so, yeah, this might be the first pass for him, but he's probably going to get another pass of this curriculum in a few years. That curriculum, you can buy the corresponding like storybook Bible that goes with it. Looks like that. And it just basically has the same summary of the story that's in the curriculum set. So you're not getting any new information from this. It does have like the artwork is nice. So like it has more, you know, pictures that go along. And this is what the videos look like too. It's the same illustrator. So I just keep this out. It's like I keep it down on my my bottom shelf down there, like for books that kids can grab anytime. But they never do. They never look at it. So I don't know. You don't have to get this. If you didn't want the whole lessons though, if you don't want to spend like $80 on this would be less expensive if you just wanted to read like the summary of the story. So I don't think you have to have both. I think you could do one or the other. I liked the curriculum set because it had like comprehension questions at the end, and it has like a little background information. So I mean, if I was going to do one or the other, I would do this one, but this is definitely really good for upper elementary. But if you just had younger kids and you didn't want to go that deep, you definitely could use just their storybook Bible. And I just think it's cute. I really like the artwork and the cover, and I always like anything that, to me, this looks like Scandinavian-ish, like folksy art, which I always really am drawn to. There's also the verse cards that come along with it, but it'll have like a picture from the lesson of the passage and the memory verse on there. Our next subject is science. We're doing the Brian Builders, Science at the Beginning. I talked about this in my last video with my update with my fourth grader because we're doing it together. And you could do this. I think I forgot to mention this. There's a series starting with Science at the Beginning, and it just goes through kind of chronologically through time. They're focusing on like the industrial age, the scientific age, and then the last one in the series is like Science in the Atomic Age. I think that there are 6 books. Pretty sure there's 5 or 6. And I think they can be used from like 1st through 8th grade. I'll link to them so you can see them. We really like these. There's an experiment we're going through. The experiments are really easy to get both my 1st and 4th grader to do with me together. The comprehension questions at the end of the lesson. So there is the youngest student, older student, and oldest, right? So it'd be like lower elementary, higher elementary, like middle school age. And so I will like have him, my 1st grader, try to answer the first one. And we typically just do these orally at the end of the lesson and then do some kind of notebooking. Although sometimes I do write in the question with like a fill in the blank and I just have him fill it in. Part of that is just to document what we did, that we did something. And then the other part of it is just to kind of teach him about fill in the blanks. That's like something that you see a lot in schoolwork. So yeah, we are loving this. We are going to do the whole series. I love this series so much and love like the lab kits, and like I just love it so much. I just went and bought like even the high school books yesterday. I ordered them because I just wanted them. I want to complete my library. If you guys know me from watching my channel, I'm such a sucker for a set of something. I love a set. Oh my gosh, it's like such a problem. Anyways, I love it. I love them. I've only heard other good reviews from other YouTubers and families that have used it. I've actually preferred it over the Apologia courses because it's just simpler and easier to use. It's just more straightforward. It's less complex. There's less like switching different things on different days. It's just like there's like a pattern to what you do. And so it's really easy for mom to implement too. Like I don't have to do any prep. It's completely open and go. In our schedule, we're still in morning time. We do Bible, science, math. So our 3rd and final morning subject is math. He is using Number Stories, Book 2. So this is the PDF version from Forgotten Books. I just put it in a binder. I made my own cover and put it in a binder. So I love these books. We used Number Stories, Book 1, but he's been going through this so fast. I love vintage math books. I think this one is from like 1945 3 or something. It was in the 40s, but I love it's like color illustrations, and everything is it's teaching math like in context. So within a story, like a real life example, I really like the way they teach. Like I really like it. I do think when I look at more modern math textbooks, or like even going online looking at worksheets, like with things that are aligned with Common Core, I do think Number Stories Book 2 is like supposed to be like a second grade level math book. That's what it was considered when they wrote it. I would say that it's more comparable to a first grade math book for what I'm seeing with modern stuff. But I think it is. So I think it's the right level for him. I think they just taught things a little bit slower and more drawn out in the past, which honestly seems like it had better outcomes, right? Compared to what the outcomes are for our kids today. So anyways, we are loving it. I love the way they teach it. I love the illustrations. I did have a hard copy of this book, and then I got rid of a whole bunch of my vintage books because I heard that there could be lead, anything actually before like the 80s. Before they passed laws that they couldn't use certain things, there could be lead in books. And I was like, basically it was saying that it could become like, just like handling them, the little fragments, become airborne, you can breathe them in and stuff. I got really paranoid. I got rid of like over 100 books. It was really heartbreaking. They're probably fine, but I'm like, I just can't test all these books, and I just got paranoid about it. So I went ahead and went with the PDF version from Forgotten Books. And they also had the PDF versions of the Study Arithmetics books, which I had, but they had the versions, I think, that were just a little bit, like I should say, newer, because they were from the 40s. I think the versions I had were from the 30s, but they had also like the teacher guide answer keys that I could pair up with it, which is just incredibly difficult to find. Like you never find when you're looking for the hard copies of those vintage books. I've never been able to find an answer key book, so which is really helpful when you want kids to be able to check their own work. Like, William's in 4th grade. I really need him to be able to do his math lesson and get out the answer key and just check his own work, because I don't need to be stopping all the time to like check everybody's everything when there's can be just an answer key, right? So I went in with the PDF version and got rid of my hard copy of book. Now, the only problem with it is it's not been the best. It's a scan, right? It's not the best scan. Like Williams Study Arithmetics PDF I bought, I think this was they were only $10, but is a good scan. Like it's complete. I don't think I've ran into any like missing information or anything in it. This one, the Number Stories one, there's quite a few pages that are like cut off. So like, look at this page, for example. It just stopped right here. It says pennies, nickels, and dimes. This is they're really about. Then it says how many dimes are just as much, and it's just missing. So there's been like multiple times where I like just would, as I open it up. I mean, I've still been able to use it fine. Like here's another one. This is one from yesterday. It says how much money, and then it just there's nothing. I don't know what's going. So I don't know. I kind of wondered. Yeah, I don't know what happened, and I don't know how to contact Forgotten Books to have. I don't know. Here's one. Somehow it like cut off the ends, so I was like having to like guess and just fill in write in my own words. So even though I love this curriculum, I don't know that I would recommend. I mean, you can use it. I mean, I think it's been worth it for the $10 I spent. I got a lot, right? And I can fill in little bit missing information here and there. But just be a buyer beware. If you were wanting this curriculum and you were like, yeah, I'll go with the PDF route because it's just really hard to track down hard copies, like I said. And maybe you're worried about lead. It's not, this particular one is not the best PDF. There's also like, and I love illustrations, but then there's like randomly they'll have like missing color. Not a big deal. Actually, Bo really likes to color them in. Whenever he sees it, he gets excited to color them in. So he's done some little coloring, but most of it's fine. Most of it's fine and complete, and we love it. So I've been working through this. We're almost done. So something that sometimes I run into with him. So is that I have to sit there with him with this and read it to him. Like everything, there's a lot of instructions, and his reading is not quite up to this level. So I think this particular curriculum, they said it is meant to have a reading level that's commensurate with the grade of math that they're doing. So this should be what they considered a second grade reading level. Well, he's in first grade, and if you have like a reluctant reader or you started reading later or something, you may have a kid who doesn't want to sit there and read. It may become kind of, all the instructions in the story and stuff like that. That may be a barrier for some kids. I think I was a big reader as a kid. I think I would have liked that, right? That would have been, for me, it would have turned math into not such an abstract, kind of intimidating thing. It would have been like, oh, stories, right? But for some kids that don't like reading, that might be a barrier. And so what you'd find yourself like is sitting with them and reading it to them, which typically is what I do with Bo, which I'm fine with because I'm wanting to make sure he gets the math concept, right? And I don't really, so I'm sitting there and being like, but like I said, this curriculum, they do write it, it's really well written. And how they introduce, how they ask questions, they tell them, think this. Like, it's really a good curriculum. But sometimes, like yesterday, I wanted to make cookies. We were having some other little kids come over, and I wanted to have cookies. So we did Bible and science, and then I was like, okay, you guys do your math. Well, I couldn't sit there with Bo. I wanted to make cookies, right? So I also have gone onto, this is k5learning.com, and I just went to like the first grade section, and I picked out these were free, and I just picked out a whole bunch of worksheets. So I picked which ones I want, I put them in the order that I wanted, that I liked. And so on days like that, like sometimes if you can't just sit there, I can just hand him a worksheet. And there's answer keys for a lot of them too. So like, here's one that was just an addition table. So he's got to like fill that in, and then he can check it himself, right? Right, here's one, and this is expanded numbers. So you can do that. So there's nothing really much to read, as long as there's an example. You can like, do you understand that? Do you see the example? Can you do that? Okay, go. There's the fill in the missing number. I like these types. We've done these with some previous worksheets that we went through. So yeah, this is something that I have started supplementing also because he's almost done with that book, and we're not even close to being through the end of the year. And I know that I didn't know that I was wanting to put him into Study Arithmetics book 3 yet. So part of this too is like, it gives him extra practice. This book is just, addition and subtraction and like money. And, but I love the number stories because it gives them it gets them thinking in a logical way, which they just don't get as much of in just straight worksheets that are just little abstract equations, right? We do get towards the end, we have talked about place value as we're working, but there's like place value sheets. Sometimes, so I think this is a good website too. If sometimes you notice your kid is just struggling with a certain concept and you just need more practice, you might need to go find some worksheets somewhere just to give them extra practice on something. And this breaks it down like by skill, right? So there's addition, there's expanded form, there's subtraction, there's place value. This one, rounding. So yeah, what is it? k5learning.com. Anyways, I thought that was a good resource. I'll link it for you too. We also I'm still using I showed these recently, the No Prep Math games. And so this is just addition and subtraction games. And we put them in that envelope and play with with dry erase markers. Yeah, I like using these for warm-ups. Okay, and for those subjects, we are using our Everything Else notebook, level 0. And so I have pages for those sheets. And I'll give you kind of an example of what stuff looks like in there. This one is the Bible, Social Studies, and Math. I know we're doing science right now because we, but I still had pages left in this one. So before I printed out the whole new one, I was just been crossing out social studies and doing science. But so here's an example for like Bible. These are like the printables that come with the biggest story off of their website. And I will just write the passage and the takeaway, which gives you, the curriculum gives you the takeaway. So I just write that. I don't have to like come up with it. I just write it in for him. And then I print these at 75%, so a little smaller so they fit onto the page. And he colors them, cuts them out, and tapes them in. Okay, so here's our Berean Builders. Here's our notebooking page here that we did that day. So I wrote in some definitions, and then he wrote, absorb and reflect. Did a little fill in. We're talking about light. And then, he did an illustration of looking at a flower and how light reflects off of it and back to your eyes. So you see the different colors and stuff like that. Like some absorb, some reflect. Sometimes he is documenting the experiment that we did. Here's another Bible page. Then for math, so the math pages just look like it's just double, right, graph paper. So sometimes we're doing this math from the book, right? And sometimes I'm helping, sometimes I'm writing in problems for him. I document, up here what page we did. But then for days, sometimes we're doing, like I said, sometimes for math, sometimes for science, we're just like printing things off the internet that went along with it. When I do those worksheet, if I do any type of worksheet, I typically like cut it out and tape it in. Like this is the one from yesterday, right? So I just cut around the problem set after he was done with it. We corrected it, taped it in, and then we just did the ones he missed. We did corrections. Keeps us on track, keeps us organized, gives us a container method, so I'm not like doing too much. Just do your single page, right, and move on. So after we'd finished those 3 subjects, he's off. He's taking a play break. We have lunch and stuff like that. And when we come back, his first subject is spelling. And spelling has been really helpful for him as far as reading goes. I've just really seen this target the spelling rules, kind of, like he's the silent E making the vowel long, like that concept trips him up. And we use the McGuffey readers, which have vocabulary words, right? So he'd see that would be added in, like the silent E doing that. But since the McGuffey readers are teaching to read in a much more like natural way, like reading passages that have, several, that introduce, several new phonics or spelling rules into their words. So, and like my middle son, he just picks that up like much easier, and he didn't need to see it as repetitively. But I would say my first grader needs to see that like repeated over multiple words, which is why you hear about decodable texts, which I can see why that would target that and that'd be helpful. But I also feel like they're super boring to read and it's very limiting, and all that stuff is very secular and has like no moral content to it, which the McGuffey readers are just rich in moral content. Anyway, so my solution is to also do spelling with him in first grade. For him, it's been helpful. So we're using McGuffey's Spelling Level 1. This is my resource. And yeah, so this has just been really helpful to see words in word sets that have a pattern. And it's not like we only do silent E one time. Like there'll be multiple sets that have that, working with different vowels and stuff like that. So I shared an update video a while back, and I had picked up the foundational phonics, which is the word mastery level. And we were using it for a while. Like I wanted it to practice those final silent E words, making the vowel long. And so we went through a lot of those. I was using that as a warm-up for a while. And yeah, we haven't used this probably in a couple weeks now, because he got through those. I may go back and use it as a review again, but I'm not using this on a daily basis. Nothing wrong with it. I didn't feel like we needed it right now. So he's still reading McGuffey's Eclectic Primer, the revised edition. Where are we? We are on lesson 37 of 52. So we will finish this year. His reading is getting easier and smoother. So making good progress. And we are still using our companion notebook. Since there are, reading words or vocabulary words within the McGuffey Reader, because we study spelling, this is like the word, like the page on the words. Because we study spelling, we are able to translate, just to we kind of point things out, but we don't totally break apart or analyze these words, but as deeply as we do, right, with spelling. But that does kind of prep us for understanding our reading words better. Like this day, we talked about compound words, school, house, right? We go over whatever new phonics are being introduced. And again, a lot of them, he'll see in his spelling program also. I think that if you could use these as your spelling words as well, and I think a lot of people do that with the McGuffey readers, which in theory would really simplify things, right? You don't have to have a whole separate spelling subject. But like I just said, for our kids, I just felt like they needed a spelling list that had some kind of phonics or some kind of spelling rule that was over multiple words. I think they needed to see it in multiple words to help cement that in their memory, that recognize that pattern, than just seeing it in one word, right? And then we have copywork pages, right? Do a little bit every day, and we play memory a lot with our the vocab word flashcards that I have for this. Another thing I use is I have this sequence of phonological skills, and this is kind of just beginner skills. It kind of goes down. It starts with recognizing rhyme. You end up doing phoneme deletion, medial and final blend positions. That's say snail, say it again without the N. That would be sail, right? But I like to keep an eye on this every once in a while. Usually when I get to the review lessons in the primer, I can check these skills, check one of these skills to see what he has mastered. So I've got checking off the ones that are mastered. And I just use things as bookmarks all the time. I swear, I'm just such a bookmark homeschooler. But I just keep it in there to remind myself to be testing for those skills and working on those skills. And that is my first graders halfway mark update.